We used the epidemiological approach. We ordered to unify data on homicides to publish them monthly. We worked on 3 risk factors: firearms, alcohol, and family violence. The alcohol consumption in public places, public establishments, was authorized until 4 o'clock in the morning in the weekend, and we reduced that time until 1 o'clock. And this was clearly known at the level of the country and some other countries as the carrot law, because in Colombian language, to be carrot is to be self-restricted, self-regulated. Well, in my '94 campaign, I didn't speak about harmonization of law, morals, and culture. I said it more simply. I said, each one of us has a bad guy inside, and he has to control it. If we do not manage to control our bad guy and guide, and he gets more forceful, we have to rely on family and other people, even stranger people, non-familiar people. And if both I can control the bad guy and the other surrounding people and anonymous people do not allow me to control the bad guy, then I need justice and I need police. We made university curricula for 1 month, full-time, for 3,600 police officers. The course was called Citizens That Qualify Other Citizens as Trainers of Citizens. That was my definition of policy. Public space was very important. Public space is like sacred space for the celebration of citizenship. To be more decent with unknown people than you are with your family or your labor colleagues, it's one of the main characteristics of being a citizen. Worrying more about the rights of people that are far away from you. We changed the transport model. We did not allow national government to build a metro line in Bogota. Instead of it, we made an agreement to develop more quickly, originally 16 lines of massive bus transport. My own summary is very simple: principles. There is not a single regulation system. There are 3: law, morals, and culture. There is not only legal impunity, there are 3 impunities: people that do not fear legal sanction, people that do not fear guilt or do not feel guilt, and people who do not feel shame. There are not only punishments, there are also reasons and positive mechanisms that make us accept rules. And the strength and coherence of rulings facilitate agreements. Well, against shortcut culture, participative planning is key, and environmentalism is key because they look at future as if it was closer. Many people in shortcut culture apply high discount rates. Future good is important, but it's important in a discounted way if we compare it with immediate needs and immediate pleasures. Against high transaction costs and distrust, we worked on simpler laws and procedures. There is also something that I have not spoken about, the divorce between morals and culture. Morals and culture in very religious communities are very strongly linked. What happens with yourself inside is very strongly linked to the opinion of other people. So the modernity is in part theorized and studied as the disenchantment of the world, a sort of more critical and pessimistic view of the world, and more isolation between the self and the others. So this can go in several directions. If you make strong morals, you get close to the Greek cynics. The Greek cynics were feeling themselves as, perhaps I feel sometimes like that, as citizens of the world. not citizens of a country, because they felt a sort of moral superiority, but they understood not well the power and the importance of cultural regulation. They were mocking the cultural regulation. On the other side, you can debilitate morals and you can get stronger cultural regulation. This is very linked to cultural identities and to the cultivation of those identities. Perhaps Charles Taylor's is an illustration of intellectuals that have worked in that direction, and the discussion between Habermas and Taylor is relevant to this question. There I see remedies in art and in constitutional patriotism. What is common between two North Americans, between two citizens of the United States of America? They have the same constitution. What is the common thing between two Colombians? We have the same constitution, no more, no less. That's a beautiful, inspirational perspective. In face of violence, widening expressive and instrumental repertoire was important. As rector of the National University before being mayor, I deliberately and publicly accepted that and promoted that students change physical violence by symbolic violence. There was a jail for the rector, there were a lot of sittings, occupations of buildings, but nobody could hurt nobody, and all our lives were implicitly protected. There was not fear of death. And anomie, what is anomie? It's Merton, a sociologist called Merton work. There are societies that make you internalize goals, to be oriented to success, to have a strong commitment to goals is important, but the same society has to educate you and in not using any instrument, any method. You have to win the war, but without using some kind of weapons. So my work about this is, there is a very strong social norm, negative and positive reciprocity, eye for eye, or a gift for a gift. And we have to clarify the limits of this cultural rule that is very deep, very, very deep. And in this, the deliberative democracy is a beautiful tool. You come to a meeting with one interest, and sometimes there is a miracle. You change your interest. You accept a more general interest or a more long-term interest, or you just accept reasons. In Colombia, the biggest reformer of the labor law was López Pumarejo. He was a banker. And the biggest defensor of nature that declared, that doubled the number of hectares declared as natural or in reserves or reserves for pre-Columbian culture people was Barco, and they were driven clearly by reasons. So these are 5 paths for the harmonization. Perhaps this is of interest of some people. I will make quickly my way through external readings. One by Rosemary Thorpe from Oxfam, and the other by Doris Sommer from Harvard. With Doris Sommer, we have maintained the communication, so the reading is more detailed. One of the things is putting priorities very clear. Once, and accept that reality sometimes changes priorities, and put a second ball in play. I have forbidden fireworks, artisanal fireworks, because each end of the year, about 250 persons, most of them child, were burned with fireworks. it was rather successful. We reduced from 250 to 50. In this moment, several months after that, a 3-year girl asked her mother a strange gift for her birthday. 3 years girl says, "I want to know the mayor," as the gift. And both went to the mayor house, asked. Of course, the answer was yes, of course. And we met. The mother explained that she was living alone with the girl. They were living alone, the two. Very poor conditions, estrato 2. And she told me that the girl had seen me sometimes on television speaking about wounded children by fireworks. And we had some drink and they went out, and in the moment they were going out, the mother said, "Sorry, one moment, I forgot to tell you something, Mr. Mayor. Each time I'm going to beat my child, she takes the telephone. She doesn't know even to dial it, but she says that she calls you." Obviously, that was like an order. Immediately, I set a meeting with psychiatrists and psychologists, and we calculated that in Bogotá there were 600,000 children, to some extent abused by punishment or by physical injury. And we had no traditional means to tackle with it. So we invented the vaccine against familiar violence. It was a too harsh process. People that came from the street entered one by one to the process. The psychiatrist or psychologist asked, "What was the person that aggressed you the most in your life?" And some people said, "My father," or "my aunt." In my case, it was an art critic. Not because he made a critic of my work. It was someone who one Sunday, when I was 6 years old, took me to his gallery, to his empty gallery, and he said, "I will teach you wrestling positions." And he didn't put out my clothes, but he was playing with me in a way that I could not have language to describe. I didn't understand it. I never had told this, and in face of the vaccination process and with cameras, I was saying, "Hey guy, if you like men, look for men of your age. Please, with the children, no. With the children, no." Even in this moment, I feel emotion remembering, because I never had told this story to nobody. Journalists wanted the name of the art critic. I said, "He's passed away. I cannot give you his name." But this was a powerful tool, but perhaps too dangerous. 45,000 people on 2 Sundays of May 1996 passed through this vaccination process. Obviously, not all the cases were so dramatic, but in one of the cases, one of the people that passed through the vaccination was shouting, "That's why I killed you." In other words, confessing homicide. And the psychiatrists and the psychologists were very strongly depressed and tired at the end of the journey after seeing these horrible moments of violence. Even in telephone, we had 200 calls of people saying to the machine, "If I will meet the aggressor, I will say to him these words," and record. Okay, so Rosemary Thorpe's adopt explicit priorities of change but seek snowball effects. Put in play next ball as soon as you can. Attack defeatism with examples and indicators. Give information about behavioral change. Use positive indicators. Use lateral analysis with practical applications, for example, epidemiology. Look at the same thing from different perspective. attack multiple phases of the same problem, use of visual shock, mooning, stars on ground, simple tasks for people like whistle, and trustable reputation. That was useful also. I have a strange relationship with art. I am son of a sculptress. This is one of my mother's works. The other was at the beginning. The dialogue with Doris Sommer from Harvard was centered on the idea of cultural agency. She comes for cultural studies and has the idea that humanities and art teaching in high schools is not good. It's very critical and very low in hopes. So we worked together on some texts about aesthetical effects. Shklovsky, the Russian formalist, had a very beautiful idea that art has to refresh, to make unfamiliar the familiar. That art has to create public judgment, not only judgment, but a judgment that has a universality vocation, but has not the strength of academical scientific judgment. So I risk myself saying this art work is beautiful. It's also linked to disinterested pleasure. Art announces possible harmonies, offers role models, and makes conscious about the arbitrary of social constructions. Tolstoy, in Peace and War, has a very beautiful example of this. What a strange institution is propriety, says a horse. Tolstoy makes a horse to speak. I know very well my owner, and he speaks to me by my name, and if I get sick, he takes care of me. But I know other horses whose proprietor does not do these things. So in 5 lines, the propriety relationship is gone. It's changing. And motivation and inspiration for other practices. Very different practices linked together in the form were sometimes introduced. I use a lot Moebius strip. Perhaps humanity lives on a Moebius strip. Locally, the Moebius strip has 2 faces. It's very clear that to be here is not the same as to be on the other side, on the local other side. Or to be in this border is not the same as being in this border. But if you get in a very strong conflict, you walk together in this direction or in this direction, and always you have the same experience as if you were in a common belt. But if one of the parts goes in this way and the other walks in this way, they meet on the same side. This strip has only one side and only one border. It's like discovering that the earth is spheric. This is the end. Life is sacred. It's an empty cemetery. These tombs are empty. And the life protection is the main thing. So forget about harmonization of law, morals, and culture. It's gone. The very, very important thing is human lives have not to have risks in differentiation, discussion, and so on. Human life is sacred. Thank you very much.